Yeah, Jonas. Super nice to finally get a moment with you and to get to know you better and hear your story, because your story is it's something every human can relate to, and something that I think a lot of people are very curious about, but a lot of people are also very afraid to go into their mind, into what is there. what is the next,
What is the next is the now.
yeah, right.
Finally, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to even know where to begin. I feel like it's kind of you that.
I mean, where to begin is like we share same a same passion, which is to glide with our bodies.
Yes.
So, and we love that.
Yeah.
And if there is different ways to glide in this body, and so that's, I mean, the approach that we have through either traditional medicine approach or whatever the approach is, to realize that our bodies, it's so sacred, and it allowed us to really enjoy this physical plane to the fullest, and those sports, I mean, reveal the possibility that our bodies got to ride in that earth or to fly. But I mean, I think the approach that we share is that we've learned, I mean, I've learned through either snowboarding, wingsuit flying, climbing, or all those sports, it's to how to behave. I mean, to not just behave once we're on the top of the cliff and to be centered just on the top of a cliff, to achieve the best way we can to be safe our flight, but it's to take to find a synthesis. Synthesis, is that an English word? Like the synthesis is synthesis, to find a synthesis which allowed us to become better human being with all the skills that we've been developed in those sports, I mean, they highly meditation sports.
Yeah.
Highly.
Yeah, that there are.
And they highly initiatic sports. And if we take a bit of distance and we open our mind to different traditions that human has been experimenting on Earth, I found out that all those sports teach us, trained us, and if we open enough, allowed us to become better with our brothers and sisters. And usually we get stuck on the sport. We develop all those quality during the moment of the sport or the actions, but after we let all those quality to become animals again, not animals, but like on a lower human approach, And that's sad, because all those sports show the potential that we have in the mountains, on the water, but that potential idealistically needs to be improved onto relations. Because what do we do when we jump mountains? We are in relations with the mountains, with the wind, with all the environment. With our friends, we try to find a good relations, either in the water or on the snow. It doesn't matter, like the structure that we're going to fly, to ride, or to swim on. And but the hardest like structure to fly, to ride, is the relation between human beings.
Yes.
And if we take a step back, we find that all the sports can be a big teachers of those things,
Yeah.
And that's why we're here. It's maybe to share, to realize this.
Yeah.
And that's a big realization. I mean, that's been a big realization when I first went to Peru and got initiate onto those traditional medicinal approach, where one, to become a healer, has to go through lots of initiations, And I found out myself, I mean, that body, because what's the self? It's something much bigger, right? But that body knew already somewhere a big sense of what means initiation, when you face your fear, when you have to concentrate yourself and to focus yourself to be able to go through to go through some challenges. It's all those things which need to be required in those so-called shamanic practice or like traditional medicinal practice or spiritual practice, you know.
Yeah.
And as more as we evolve in a spiritual activity, as more we attract challenges to ourselves. Same in a way like in our sport. As more as we evolve in, let's say, paragliding, we'll change the wing, we'll have like shorter wings, and then everything will be much more like sensitive, you know. But we like that state of being sensitive.
Yeah.
And it's the same in a spiritual practice. We become more and more sensitive. But one which become more sensitive has to adapt much more than like it was before.
Yeah.
Sometimes I ask myself how I was before my near-death experience and all those years in Peru. And I was like, let's say, flying on a big canopy. And now my canopy is just like more profile, more tight. And so I've got to be just more present to myself to be able to glide through this life, to navigate to this life.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned the most from those sports combined with those initiation that I'm going through, which has been taught to me via the plant medicine. But plant medicine, once again, it's an approach like there is many others. You know? Now we promote a lot the plant medicine in via, I don't know, social medias and things. We talk a lot about ayahuascas and things. But once again, it's just to get away. It's the wing. The flyers, it's within ourselves. The flyers is within ourselves, you know. And that's what's beautiful about this path. And to combine with the sports.
So like if we go back in time, so you used to be a professional snowboarder.
Yeah.
When you were younger.
Yeah.
And how did you feel, for example, that lifestyle were to you and
that lifestyle? I mean, it's funny because I was like I snowboard professionally for like 13 years, 14 years. And it was beautiful. I mean, that was the peak of like snowboarding. It was like early 2000, the year 2000, where skiing, they didn't like this, ski carve didn't exist. Were about to exist.
Yeah.
And so snowboarding was on the highest peak. And all those big brands like, I don't know, Rossignol, Salomon, things like this were like giving a lot of budget to snowboarding. So we were living a beautiful moment. Like it wasn't as professionalized as it is now. We didn't have any trainer. It was like a pure lifestyle of traveling.
Yeah.
And
it was the best part of it.
It was the best part of it. We didn't have to do triple cork neither to be good. We didn't train onto like plastic bags and things like this. But we got lucky to be in a period where lots of the influence got to develop. Only things that I find out now with the modern, I mean, the actual snowboarding is like, it seems like now actual snowboarding has broke a lot of dogmatic approach of snowboarding, like it was like when I was snowboarding at that time.
Yeah.
At that time, for example, the style was not to tweak too much. We had the certain style of stance. It was like flat spin a lot, and all the tricky, funny part of snowboarding didn't develop as well because of the cameras. We filmed only on 16 millimeter. So we didn't wanted to lose 16 millimeter. We didn't wanted to lose some film by filming somebody just riding a slope. And now we can film somebody riding a slope, expressing itself with so much creativity that we used to do, but we couldn't picture or like show up on cameras. And but anyway, like that period of snowboarding was amazing. I got to compete. I got to meet some of my idol. I had some idol, and my dream come true to become friends with them, like Terje Håkonsen, Ingemar Bachmann, Johan Olofsson. I mean, all those big boys. I
know Terje from Oslo. Yeah, we have a very good friend in common.
Okay.
And I hope.
That's right. You're Norwegian.
Yeah. And I hope he's gonna come and do some surfing with us in Oslo.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. He's a really interesting character and
he's a king.
Super nice guy.
Terje, yeah. And so that was that period, the period where Terje was the king of snowboarding, and we were just like riding and having fun.
That's it. You know, like it feels. When I look at how it is today compared to back then, it definitely seemed more interesting to be a part of that particular time frame.
Yeah, and I mean, like all those sport influence all the sports now in terms of editing movies and like the fashion which goes with it. At that time, we just had like a couple of like HD video which were coming out, and all the other sport didn't have much of a like we'll say like a structurized marketing approach of the sport. So for sure they were at the hype of the sport, where now you can make a good edit of a golfer and make him sound like he's a rider, even though he's a rider in his way. But I think skateboarding, surfing, and snowboarding, as we know, influence all the way that
for sure
that we see those things. Yeah. But yeah, I was like snowboarding mainly because I wanted to travel. I was living in valleys. I wasn't adapt too much to the school system. I didn't like the school, even though at the end of myself, I wanted to become a surgeon. But life brought me somewhere else, brought me into snowboarding. So I quit my studies and just went full on for snowboarding. And I got the chance to get sponsored and at an early age and just travel the world with it. But I never felt being part of the snowboard community that much, And even now that it's been 10 years that I'm not part of the snowboarding like professional world, I don't have any big friends that I never got like. Yeah, it has been a family during a time.
Yeah.
But I never identified myself as a snowboarder.
No.
Like I don't identify myself as a shaman, for example, even though it's been 10 years that I'm studying a shamanic healing art, but I cannot identify myself as a shaman. I'm not gonna wear feathers or like all those it's just a question of identification.
Yeah.
But in my core, I'm a snowboarder. In my core, I'm a rider, and that's what I found in the shamanistic approach that I'm learning. It's that in my core, I've got that skills to travel. To glide and to find an harmony. And I think that's the peak of what we try to reach in the healing arts as in the sport arts, is to find an harmony in the movement. It's to always be driven to the perfect moment. Of course, we can have like a competitive approach. I wasn't too much of a competitor, even though I did some competition, but to be a competitor, I mean a real competitor, it's something else, you know?
And it's challenging too.
And some people are born competitor.
For sure.
Somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you think of that, but
well, like for me as well, like in wingsuit flying, I think that why I got so much passion for it was because it wasn't any competition. It was just okay, go out in the mountain, be free and express yourself through whatever you like to do.
Yep.
And every time I go to these competitions, I'm usually one of the last guys because I simply are not a competitive soul, and I don't do the training for it or do the effort it takes to be among the best.
And you're not here to beat your friend.
No.
Because that's being a competitor.
Yeah.
I mean, during the moment of the competition, it's about beating your friend.
Yes.
And to be clear about that. And those people which are clear about that, respect, because they're authentic to themselves. It's not that they're better or, but as long as you're authentic. So an authentic competitor, I say respect.
Yeah.
I wasn't one of them.
I usually come to those competitions just to hang out with my friends and have a good time.
Good excuse for that. But we can be, and that's what tricked me, because I say I've never been a competitor, but I've been to progress in the sport, you've got to compare it yourself a little bit, and sometimes, of course, we've got our little dragon inside ourselves wants to show a little better than our friends,
For sure.
And I was really, conditioned by that approach in my snowboarding career. So when I went into the wingsuit flying, it was suddenly so easy for me to wingsuit after. It was like, well, that's it. And so I didn't realize that it's much more tricky to let's say survive and to be safe in that sport. It's not like snowboarding when you can try, 720 and fail like as much as you want, not as much as you want, but You fail, you come back. You learn by failing.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I learn. I learn by impact.
Getting smacked,
by getting smacked in wingsuits. That's not the way you learn.
Yeah, it's usually the hard way.
So after 20 jump, I felt that, okay, I've learned what I needed to learn, and I could go on like just jump on a higher scale of type of jumps, And that's where I had my accident, and my accident was like a pure egotic accident because I was comparing myself, and I just wanted to jump a jump that my friend at that time didn't jump,
Yeah.
And we hiked up for 5 hours, and I was like flying an expert at that time.
S-fly expert, yeah. How many jumps you had at that time?
I had maybe 200 skydive jump wingsuit, and 20. I must have maybe 150, 200 base jump.
Okay.
And I had a 20 wingsuit flight.
Okay, so you had been base jumping for a couple of years.
Yeah, I had been base jumping for 2 years before my accident. Yeah. And we hiked up that mountains, and it was the first time I went for a long hike, a 5 hours hike, and I got really tired on the top of the hike, and I was with some other friends, but they weren't like my core friends with who I've learned to base jump and to fly, and I was with those guys. And those guys were like much more shaped than me, like to walk in the mountains. So when they arrived, the wind started to pick up, and they were already dressed to fly, which is normal before the winds like take too much space in the air. So they were like, Jonas, you feel to jump it or not? And honestly, I didn't feel to jump it. I was like, my head was spinning around from the hike. I was so exhausted. But on the other hand, I didn't want to walk back down. I didn't have like that margin of experience to realize which choice I should make at that time, because you suddenly it was like almost 4,000 meters up mountains. It was from Le Pleureur in Le Chable, above Mauvoisin. I mean, have you seen the video from the guy like swimming the water? It's like
yes, we were actually watching it last night.
That Weinstein is from that jump.
Oh wow!
It's from that jump. So it's a high jump in the mountains. It's quite high, and so that's when my snowboarding approach went. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try, and I didn't have enough experience to realize that in wingsuit fly you don't do things just to try if it's gonna work or not.
Yeah.
And that worked, and that didn't work at the same time. That worked because I can speak with you right now here, and I'm still flying. And that didn't work because I had to spend 6 months in the hospital.
So what exactly happened on that jump?
I jumped, and I dive a lot in my exit. And at that time, with those experts, you had to tense yourself so much to make those little wingsuit fly. We didn't have any inflate.
No.
Did you fly with those?
I tried an S-Fly expert like once or something from the plane, and I was like, this was, I mean, it would probably have been better if I were a good free flyer at the time, because it feels like they're more like just extra power if you're a really good free flyer.
Exactly. Yeah.
But they're not really wingsuits.
No, they weren't that much of a wingsuit.
Compared to what it is today, they would be less than a tracking suit.
Yeah, they were. Actually, yes. Actually, yes. So I jumped and dived way too much. That wasn't a flat exit, and I dived a lot. And in my resources, when I started to fly, I had to give so much power to make that things fly, and I was already really down from the ground. It was the first time I saw like terrain, because all my previous jump was from the mushroom in the Eiger, which is like straight up and you fly straight. It wasn't that much of a terrain. So I jumped from the mushroom. I jumped like from in Lauterbrunnen a couple of jumps, and then suddenly I was like in the mountain, and I had another visual that I didn't have, and I had to clear a plateau. I had to clear a plateau. Do you understand that word? Yeah, I had to clear a plateau to gain to reach the point where I wanted to pull. But in the middle of the plateau, I started like by the tension and the wall, the tiredness, I started to have cramps on my calves first.
Yes.
And like big cramps, and then cramps started to come behind my arm. And I was like, whoa, I was seeing where what I needed to clear to get much space, because at that altitude I couldn't pitch. And I had a flash at that moment I had two moments which but that moment saved my life already in one decision I had to take. Is that when the cramp came, I knew that I could clear the plateau, but I had a flash of seeing me not being able to pull because of the cramp.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, if you have a cramp in your arm, you cannot do that move.
No, it's super.
You can't. You simply can't. And I was getting at that point where I could see that I couldn't grab my pilot chute, So I took the decision to turn on my left. And on my left, it was like the plateau was going slightly little more down. And so I gained maybe 20 meters, by turning on my left. And at that moment, I didn't think it was now or never. It was, I thought, should I fly longer to try to reach? But fortunately, I didn't, So I just went and pull, and it was like a stretch line impact. So my chute went up, and I impacted at stretch line impact,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And but once again,
and it was rock solid ground, like grass, or was it?
Yeah, it was rock solid ground. Yeah, it was just like lots of rocks everywhere, but just one couloir, one chute with rocks, but not as big as it will be 5 meters on the right or 5 meters on the left. But that's where snowboarding brought me onto this impact, and that's where also snowboarding saved me, which maybe couldn't save a wingsuit flyer which didn't snowboard as much as I did, because when I saw that I was going to impact, I knew that I could make it. It's like snowboarding, like you traverse a big hip, you do, and you see the landing going past you. There's something and you accept the impact, and you just go in the impact. And it was the same for me, I saw that I was going to impact, so I went like, I'm gonna make it, and I just totally accept the things instead of like, and I think that would have killed me.
Because if you resist it, becomes harder.
It becomes harder, So I
become one with the impact.
So I become one with the impact. I become one with the impact, and
And then, do you remember?
And then then after I lost.
Because what were the injuries?
I broke both knees, both shoulder, feet, arms, finger, feet, and sacrum.
Okay.
Yeah, and I felt. I got so impacted. The only things I remember is like that I shit in myself, during the impact. Like the impact was so hard that I clearly remember that moment when and then after I passed out. After I passed out, maybe I would say for 30-40 minutes I was out. I wasn't there. And after I woke up in the mountain in my wingsuit and totally broken, and so hungry. I had no pain. I had pain. I couldn't move. My mobile was in my suit, but I wasn't even able to get it. So I was just screaming, and being at the same time so fucking angry at myself. So fucking angry. I was like revisualizing all the impact I had in snowboarding, and I was really angry that in this impact, I didn't miss myself, so I was pissed off. I was pissed off. I was screaming. I was alone. I was like, I was in that state. And that state changed when my friend an hour after came to they heard the sound of the impact. Like, it was like still two guys at the exit. So they heard like 2,000 meters above the sound of my impact. Yeah. And my friend was like 1,000 meters down from the exit, And he heard also the impact. So he took his time. He knew that he thought that I was like, that I was dead at that time, when you heard such a big impact. But he was there, and that was, that was a big realization to realize that, when he came, he gave me birth again. Just seeing another human being and just being able to be with a human, in those moments was like, was so precious, so precious. We are nothing without others. We are nothing without others, and that was most precious moment. And after, of course, the copter came like half an hour after, and they brought me to the hospital, and And then after I woke up like from my surgery and started the 6 months rehab in a rehabilitation center to get back on my knees and on my bodies. But it was that episode in between.
Yeah, the 30, 45 minutes.
The 30, 45 minutes. And that's when, once again, consciousness, it's such a mystery. Space and time is a mystery also, you know. I mean, we have a linear time, but there is a vertical time also, if we can call it time, because what is time?
Yeah.
But we're not going to go into like those debates. I mean, some quantic scientific can express that, or some shamanistic person, but at the end of the jungle, but they will if you ask them about time and things like this, they will be like, no, say I don't know, you know, it's all about the experience that you live in the moment, and that's the only time that exists. It's just now. It's just now. But that's now that happened to me is it's hard to know. I mean, my rational mind make it think that so-called near-death experience happened when I impact. That's how I can rationalize what I've lived as in that experience. That's the only way I can explain, is that when I impact, boom, I got sent somewhere else, and that somewhere else was I show up, but maybe that was here or here. I have no idea where it was, but it was a place where I just were, and I was just who I am, you know. I was what I was.
Yeah.
I am what I am. I am what I am.
Yeah, you're just aware, but
so I wasn't flying above my body like many person will experiment. I didn't see myself flying above my body and seeing the mountain. I was in that space, and that space was like a beautiful, like the most concrete. Also, it wasn't like something etheric or something like you've experimented like medicine plants.
Yeah.
And you see the visionary world. It's there. It exists.
Yeah.
But at the other end, you can grab it. You know, it changes, it shifts. It's not like you can steal the image. If we look the tree or if we look Alex, it's still.
Yeah.
But in a ceremony, it's there, but it moves so much all the time. Structures onto structures, but in that experience that I lived, things were still, and the landscape was beyond words in terms of like beautifulness, and but things were still, you know. And
so it was actually still when you were there. Yeah,
it was still.
Yeah,
and it is still. When I think about that experience, it's not that experience stopped after that accident. It's still there. But I'll go back to that. But anyway, I was in that space. I had nobody. I was just that conscious was there.
Yeah. This whole feeling of like, I'm not really. You can't really identify you as anything other than conscious.
Yeah, it's the only word.
You're not a human. You're not.
I had nobody. Yeah. But that conscious was there, you know, and that consciousness like was saying on a filigram. You understand filigram? Like there is
a hologram.
Like a hologram. It was the stillness of the landscape where I was, but like an hologram, I was like seeing like little brief moment of my body on Earth, little moment on Earth, as what we call Earth, you know?
Yeah.
And that consciousness was remembering as a dream what I lived on Earth.
Yeah.
It's like when you wake up from a dream, you knew that you lived that dream, and there is no question that you live a profound adventures in that dream. And you wake up in the morning, you know it was a dream, but you want to remember that dream. So you just catch up like few things of the dream, you know, to try to make that dream like, what can I say, concrete in a way, like, it has a path that you can follow like to remember your dream anyway. But that was the other side. So on the other side, I was like remembering that life as a dream, and I was trying to remember the dream that I live here in this body, you know. And
it's super fascinating.
And that's fascinating. And that helped me a lot by after. And then after some beings came, some like there is no word to describe those beings, but those beings came and they were like, everything's gonna be fine. You choose to have that accident, you're gonna be repaired, and you're just gonna keep on doing what you always wanted to do. and that stopped pretty much there, you know. And it was just another as well. It was another that consciousness knew that it existed in that place where I was, but it come from another place, and that other place was just like pure. There is no word.
It's super interesting.
Pure presence, just presence. Just presence.
It's very interesting that you say that, because on my second ayahuasca ceremony, and I'm sure you're aware of how, like, okay, the first night is more mellow, and then the second night the shamans are kind of like giving it more power. And on that specific journey, I left my body. I didn't know that I was in the Amazon anymore, and I didn't have the like, it was full ego death in the sense of I did not have a body anymore. I was not a human. But once I got to the place, I was very excited about, like, oh, I'm gonna get a new body, and, you know, like, this adventure is gonna continue. And then these beings came and approached me and brought me to this laboratory, and like, we have to do some tests. And I was like, yeah, but am I not gonna get a new body? And they were like, no, like, you're just sort of like an AI, but we're just gonna do some tests. So they take my brain apart and put it into the computer. And as they do that, all my memory of this life, you know, completely fades away, and I'm just there, present in the now, conscious, no identity whatsoever. And then eventually, same as you said, eventually this whole thing pops up. It's like, yeah, wait a minute. I was some, like, doing some flying, like I was this human doing, like, so I start to, you know, get this same sense of like, well, there was this dream. I used to do something, but I don't know anymore what it was. And then, of course, you know, the medicine starts to slow down, and these entities are just like, they put my brain back in place, and suddenly all my memory starts coming back faster and faster, and then boom, I'm in the jungle. I'm like, oh yeah, this is what happened. But it's so interesting when you say the exact words of, like, yes, you're there, but you're not there as a human. You're there, just there, present in the exact time, and you remember your life, but it's like a super weird dream, and it's like you're not really 100%, and then the beings comes and greet you and take care of you in a way. But it's really fascinating, and that's why I want to hear more of your story of how this evolved into, you know,
because
your journeys.
What do we do once we cross those borders? How do we act in our life, you know? How do we hold the divine part of us and that's bestial part of us, you know? You know, and then that's where, like, a practice needs start to have an importance, you know, to be able to link slowly, progressively those parts in our daily life, you know, to not think that we are just this, because we are this, and these bodies and this experience, this life on earth is so sacred, in the sense that in the place where I was, it was no emotion, it was just perfection, you know. And here we're surrounded by emotions, we're surrounded by, like, pain, feelings, I mean, stress, and all those things, you know. And which, from that perspective, it's a treasure, because it's an experience that conscious can live here, you know. As long as we don't get trapped into our emotions. I mean,
which is like a bad trip.
As long as we can just find that place within ourselves to observe, and that's, I mean, all the spiritual practice reach that point. It's to find that place where we can observe that and not identify ourselves onto what we think we are, you know. And so we need to be initiated. I mean, we can read books, we can have an idea of it, but sometimes our life brings us into the concrete experience, and that's what I had to live through that crash, to evolve in my life, and also to jump onto another excitement, because since I'm young, one of my excitement, as I say, I wanted to be a surgeon. I had something weird. Every time I will be in a hospital, I will feel like at home,
Oh, wow.
all the like hospital environment, or every time I will listen to some healer stories and things like that, I will start to cry, something really in my core of it, and I was comfortable in my snowboarding career, but the last few years, it was something I felt that I wasn't riding what I really wanted to ride, that it was limited to ride those big hills in Alaska, even though it was beautiful, and it is beautiful. But in my personal story, it's not that I wanted to become a therapist that I am now. I mean, that I play now, because it's a play.
Yeah, that's true.
To save others, because what can we save? I'm not here to save you. I mean, we're not here to save the planet neither, No. We're here to be with the planet.
Yeah.
But what can we save? I mean, it doesn't belong to us.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
true.
we can just allow the mystery to proceed through ourselves, to harmonize the moment.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's it, But that feeling of being that channel sometimes, which can reorganize and help to harmonize a specific moment, it's such a wonderful feeling. And that's why we keep on base jumping. I mean, that's why we base jump.
Yeah.
Because on the top of the cliff, we synchronize, we reharmonize everything in that moment. And so when you do it with another person, like through a massage, through in a ceremony, or through whatever type of it's that feeling, but plus, because it's a human being,
Yeah.
And that's what that accident brought to teach me. It was like, okay, now just do what's inside your heart. So it took me years I did like a naturopathic school, because I couldn't snowboard as a professional anymore due to my knees.
Sure.
So I went to school to learn all those different like bodywork practice and like the naturopathic practice. And I found a lot of pleasure to as I said before, to discover those ends, and to find that those ends could become my snowboard on my wingsuit, and to fly a body and go into like shoots, nerves, and through different layers, and to really bring all the snowboarding and flying aspect into a care, not into like with all the serious that it requires, but with all the fun that we have, and the approach, the instinctive approach of like flying and riding or whatever, or surfing, and to adapt ourselves every time to when you massage a body and you feel that there is resistance, to not go against the resistance, to be okay, it's resistant right now, it's like I don't have thermals, and okay, there's no thermals, so I'm not gonna like, and sometimes in therapy we so much want to help others, because we feel that we have like that mission to. And actually, no, we just got to
guide and
to be with the thermals, or no, and to maybe just sometimes to learn and to be okay. So that was just a poof. That wasn't the fly that I was expecting, but it's okay. It was just a poof. You say poof in English? No, say. Like they would say over there. No, say. But anyway, so I found that bodywork approach, which helped me also a lot to reconstruct my body. So I give myself lots of massage, and those 6 months also in the hospital were like so beautiful. I always wanted to go on a big crusade on a big boat, and I was like, well, in my life maybe I'm not gonna have the money to cruise on a big boat, so I'm gonna cruise that hospital during like a crusade during 6 months, and I took it that way, and it was nice.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And a couple months after I went out from the hospital, I heard my friends. I was going to Peru. And I heard my friends, which was like, you should go and see that old man. He's a wise man. He's a Shipibo Indian in the forest, and he's a big maestro. And he drinks ayahuasca, ta-ta-ti-ta-ta-ta. And say to my friend, I'm going to Peru, so I might just go meet the man and meet the native. But I have really no interest on ayahuasca because, I lived my experience. And since I'm young, we know we all have different abilities. Me, it's like really visual. You've heard about auras and those things.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I'm really stoked, like a little child,
Yeah.
colors pop up, and I couldn't understand that process when I was young because I thought that was normal to see colors all around. But when I grew up and I asked people around, and I was like, "Wow, do you see?" And they were like, "No." So I thought that I like some visual problems. So I went to scope some optician, and they were like, "No, your eyes are fine." It's only after that I've discovered through some books that there is some subtle energy that we call auras that we can see in some moment, meditative moment. But meditative moment, it's being happy.
Yeah.
It's just being
being
stoked.
present in yourself and
being stoked, and
feeling
then
your emotions.
and you contemplate and you're amazed by things. And so things reveal, because we're not in our mind. Things just reveal as they are, So there is nothing mystical about aura. It's just things how they are. But anyway, so I was saying to my friends, I'm fine. I'm not gonna just drink some brew.
Because you didn't know what ayahuasca was at that time, right?
He explained me a lot. He said, "Yeah, you drink it, you have vision, you purge," but that was just ideas that I had, and I had no interest at the end of it. You know?
Yeah, me too. When Alex Poli told me about it, I was like, "Yeah, I think Alex is in Peru doing some psychedelics, right?"
Psychedelics, exactly. That's the idea that I had. But anyway, I went to Peru and I first arrived to Pucallpa, which is one of the towns. We still have time to talk?
We have all the time in the world, bro.
Because that's a long talk.
No, but the thing is that no, but this is a part of so there will be a podcast.
Yeah.
So this will be like the unedited, unless you want it to be edited.
No, for the moment, I'm all good.
Then it's a podcast, but then we're gonna make a short recap into an episode as well.
Oh, okay.
But, don't worry about that.
Yeah, it's good to tell.
Yeah, no, I love the story. I love the story.
The camera and keep going.
Yeah. I love the story. Yeah. I can't wait.
And I went to Peru and arrived in Pucallpa and met lots of gringos like us talking about ayahuasca. They were coming back from the ceremony. And I was like, I'm just going to spend a week in that town. And after I'm going to take the boat. It was at that time 24 hours boat to access to the village where that doctor was living with his family. And
so this is very deep into the Amazon.
That's not very deep. I mean, we have big romantic ideas but Amazon is huge, of course, and there is lots of different tribes. Some people live really deep in it, but the Shipibo, they don't really live that deep. They're tribal people from the rivers.
Yes.
So they've been always traveling along the rivers.
Yeah.
So from Pucallpa, it's long. At that time, it was long because the boat were so old that it will take 24 hours with the boat. But if you take a plane, it's like an hour from the town. But it the journey in itself, when you take the boat, you 24 hours and you don't know where you're going, especially on the first time, without having too much information on shamanistic and all those, just going blind in a way to meeting other human beings. But I stopped first in the town, and many people talked to me about ayahuasca, and I was like, well, I didn't feel it first, but then after I was like, well, Jonas, that could be just an experience for you to try it out, and because all those people are talking about, so don't be scared. I wasn't even scared, but just give yourself an opportunity to live an experience, And so before going to meet the indigenous, I did 3 ceremonies in that town with some other people, and well, as soon as I drank that brew, I felt once again, maybe because of the near-death experience, I have no idea, but I felt comfortable in it somehow. I cannot explain. Of course, I purged. I purged. It cleaned me right away. Like the first time I drank ayahuasca, I just purged a lot right away. But on the other hand, it was funny. Somewhere I felt like I knew that approach, I cannot explain why. I'm not too much into past life and things like this. I'm more like, what is past, what is future? It's now. But now, many possibilities are open. And so maybe past life are just another way of, in another level, in another time. It happens in the now, But anyway, I drank and did did that ceremony, and first thing I realized in that ceremony is that it was a lot of power from the shaman there. You know, I was like, okay, it's a big power game actually. I was observing the things, and I was like, okay, it's a big power game, and that disturbed me somehow. You know,
to be a little scary, no?
It didn't scare me, but you know, it made me like have a 2 step behind, you know.
Yeah, humble. It humbled you.
Not humble neither, but I was just observing his work, and I was just realizing that he could have a lot of control on what's up, on what was. But I didn't know anything about that medicine. I didn't know the way that you have to learn through diet. What was the plant teachers? Because it's a huge medicine. Ayahuasca is just one of the tools that they use. You know, now we idolize ayahuasca as the mother ayahuasca, na. But it's not mother ayahuasca. It's a combination of 2 wonderful plants. Give thanks to that combination, because it allowed to do a lots of good, but it allowed also to do a lot of bad. And they were using it also to harm others. You know.
Oh, for sure.
To really. But
I mean, you can use it as a
jungle people. I mean, they have to survive, and so. And that's why it was only reserved to the shaman, even though they don't call shaman, but to the practitioner. And people in the community weren't using it because they knew they don't have to know what's up in those layers, you know, somewhere, somehow. But anyway, I did those 3 ceremonies, and that didn't convince me that much. And I was like, okay, I did 3 ceremonies. I'm fine with it. I did my experience, and I'm happy that I've done that experience. But I'm still gonna go take the boat 24 hours and to meet that man and his family.
Oh, so you didn't actually drink the ayahuasca with him?
For the first time. The first time, no, I didn't.
Okay.
And then after I took the boat 24 hours, and I arrived in that like indigenous community, and I asked for Pascual because that's his name, and just came there, and I saw that old man, and people were like, yeah, he lives in this house over there. And it was the morning, he was smoking his tobacco, and at that time he was like 86 or 87, now he's 94. And I've just realized that he had a big family. He's got 18 kids and more than 100 grandchild and great-grandchild, you know.
Wow.
He's an old man with a big tribes around him. And a really gentleman, and with a wonderful wife. And I sat with him, and I said that I was a friend of my friend, which knew him because he spent like 6 months with him. And he said, why are you here? And I said, yeah, to spend some time with you and to give you a present from my friends. You know, that was the excuse, to bring him a present that was my excuse, was to go and bring him that present from my friends, you know. Mm-hmm. And so I stayed a week with them, eating fish with them and living in the community with them. And one night he was like, my plan was to stay a week, maximum 2 weeks. I didn't plan to stay a month and a half like I did after, you know. And he asked me, well, I'm going to work tonight in a ceremony for some patient which will come, and my brother's going to be here. He's a medico. They call them medico. He's a medico, and we'll just do a ceremony. If you come, you are welcome to come with us, you know. Because he asked me if I drank ayahuasca already. And I said, yeah, 3 times in town, but not much interest. And he asked me, and I was like, well, after spending a week with him and seeing how he behaved in his life, and I think that's really important for those people which want to go on psychedelic or like medicine journey, where you use like strong tool, is to spend time with the person where you're gonna go on to the journey, you know, because your psyche can depend a lot on the person, and you cannot judge a person into a ceremony because it's easy to hide behind a wingsuit, you know, behind feathers. As we've met a lot of people, you know, they're the king of the wingsuit, but in their journey, we wish they could fly
just as good,
just as good in their life, you know. Same as for me, you know. So no pointing, but you know, what I mean.
I see what you mean.
And before going on a journey, because it can be some long journey as you've experimented, you want to make sure that the person is sane. You know.
Yeah, and the shaman too. It's like you said earlier. You know, the power it has, and the fact that you can use it as a medicine, or you can also use it as a weapon.
As a weapon, exactly.
So it's very delicate who is the shaman.
Yeah.
And I think that is really important for also the audience to understand, like, okay, a lot of people are very interested in ayahuasca, but not a lot of people are willing to do the big effort or to even do the long journeys or spend the amount of money that it might cost to get into somewhere really sacred and safe place.
And safe, yeah.
And yeah, that can be a risk, because of course these are very strong tools.
Yeah. It can be a risk of different things, of psychic like balance. I mean, and I mean, it's a whole topic that's gonna take hours.
Yeah. We're not gonna go that deep.
To show the different aspect of that medicine. But anyway, on my journey, what happens is I spent a week with him. I felt really in confidence with that old man, and so I accept his proposition to go with him in ceremonies, and we sat, and I was just surrounded by shipibos, and it was no gringos. I was actually just speaking a little bit of Spanish, almost nothing. So it was really a full adventure, the idealistic adventure
the
that
real
you dream,
experience
that you dream of, you know. And I was right in there, and his brother started to sing. Then another. I didn't know what was the singing. We call them Icaros. Now I've been studying them. I mean, receiving them, and I see them different. But at that time, they were just song. You know, they were just singing, and as long it was enjoyable. And once suddenly, that old man Pascual started to sing in Icaros, and boom, everything just transformed, and just everything become just like, wow, so pure in a way, you know. And somehow it just reopened that book that I found, that I knew, like from my first, but opening that book again in a really welcome way, you know. And somehow it just, through his singing, I went back to those crystallic beings that I've experimented in my near-death experience. I mean, it was like that near-death experience already cleared the path to that zone within myself where I am just what I am, you know? Yeah. And from that zone, during the ceremony, I found out that I could fly my ways and go back onto like some more darker zone and work out those darker zones, or to let the medical work through his singing into those darker zones, but without identifying myself onto those dark zones, just observing that there was those like really darkish dragon inside. And as more as I was getting scared of them and giving them importance, as more they were like becoming in my vision, and I started to understand that I could zoom out and just find that place within, and to let the cleansing doing on his own, you know. And I really just felt like, just secure in his song and in his end, comparing to the others which were like strong shamans, you know, singing strong plants and also giving me a lot of vision, but something didn't match as much. And then the next day I was like, okay, I touched something really precious. I mean, I was like really arrogant to say that I didn't need that, because I felt that I needed a lot of healing still inside myself, you know, and that I could find that somebody found me to help me with that healing that I had to do, you know, through that, life and families and things like this, you know, home healing. And so I decided to spend a month and a half with him to extend my time with him. And so we just kept on rolling ceremonies onto ceremonies, and he just like washed me, cleaned me from all the weed that I was smoking, from a lot of things, you know. And I came back home really clean and much more like embodied, like not truly, but much more embodied than I was before, you know. And that was the first transformation. And one day I received like my friends went to see him back one day, and came back and give me a present from him, and that present, I'm gonna take another road. I'm not gonna go onto that topic there, because once again it's part of a of a personal journey, and it's going to just take too much time. But anyway, through the present that I received from him, I got interest to go and see him again, to understand some things, about that present that he gave me, And by going back there, I went back. So my second trip, I was like, okay, I'm going to spend some more time than a month and a half. I'm going to spend 3 months with him. And that's where I did my first diet. He said, okay, now if you really want to go into the medicine and if you want to learn a little bit from me and from the trees that I work with, because I work with trees, and that trees is my teacher. And that trees, I received that trees from my maestro, and I'm in that line, and you're going to have to diet that trees with me, which means that you're going to, for 3 months, not have sex. You're not going to eat pork. You're not going to drink alcohol. We're going to do a couple of ceremony during those 3 months, and you will see. You will just going to be a process for you to slowly start to learn from my Icaros, And so I did that first 3 months, went back home. Year after, I came back for another 3 months, and it went so on until gradually I was like sitting with him in ceremony, singing while he was singing. That's the way we learn the song, seeing how he was healing the person, what was happening in my vision when he was singing onto the person, to see really what's a cleansing, what's like readjusting a spirit, what is readjusting a mind, what is readjusting a part of the body. And I saw some like amazing things, as I saw some things which never worked onto people, like every medicine.
Yeah, for sure.
And I saw him, especially being humble and being like, it's not me, it's God, which decide all things. I'm just an instrument of God, It's not even the plant, it's not even the ayahuasca. It's how you connect yourself to the sources of everything that lives,
Yeah, it's so
and
crazy,
it become really, it's so simple at the same time, and it's so complicated, it's that paradox.
Yeah,
it's really paradoxal.
It's more or less like when you experience what plants can do in that way, you really look at plants in such a different way.
Yeah, plants.
And like, I mean, they kind of like, it was this one journey, they were kind of like laughing about my iPhone. And then they were saying like, well, we kind of enjoy it too because we can communicate through it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's beautiful.
Observing like, what do you guys mean? Like, and they were just like joking about it in a way. And then the shaman stopped singing, and then they were like, okay, now we gotta rest a little bit, wait a little bit. And then they were just there present. And then as soon as he starts to sing, they become alive again, and they're like sharing their journey. But it was so funny with this phone type of it, like, as if we just look at plants as something super basic, but they're so advanced. And it's just like, it's mind blowing to just understand how they communicate with each other and how present they are in the. It's as if like, maybe when we look at it like this, it looks like it's boring, right? But I'm sure they're having a much more.
Yeah, they're here.
Yeah, and they're probably are much more present within existence than we humans will ever be.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We never know.
We never know. I don't know. I leave it open.
For sure.
I leave it open, that one. But once again, what it taught me is that plants are there and they evolve as we evolve.
Yeah.
They're not there, but they're here. As we here and we're not there, but we are there at the same time,
And they were here before us too.
And they evolve, but what make those plants live? What make us live? From where do we receive the breathing? From where it comes from, that breathing that we receive at each moment. Because we receive the breath. It's a present. And we give back that breath. And what he tried to slowly infuse me is to go behind ideas that I have on plants, behind ideas that I have on myself. And breathing by breathing, to find that sources from everything comes from. And to find that relation between everything, which is the breathing. Because the breathing, the breath, comes from the unknown and comes in the know. Comes from the infinite and finish in the finite like form that we are. And in the middle, there is that link. And that's what the Christ, because that's what surprised me, He's an old Indian, old Shipibo's, 94 years old now, as I said. He doesn't know how to read. He's been trained since he's 12 onto core shamanism. But one day in his life, he started to accept the Christ within themselves, And then in his song, like during ceremony, I was like capturing that he was singing a lot about Jesus and a lot about Christic things, And I was like, wow, how come that's funny, Me, I had my gringo vision of like those missionary camps and just for the bad of them. And of course, they did some things which weren't right, as they did a lot of things which weren't right at the same times. But for those people, for those shamans, they knew that they had to go behind the violence that they came with, those missionaries, to implant the idea, the essence of Christianism.
Yeah.
Not Christianism, but the Christic essence, And somehow in his path, he went onto the Christic approach more and more and more and more and more. And he realized that, in a way, that the archetype of a human being which can hold every aspect of life, the divine aspect, the human aspect, the masculine aspect, the feminine aspect, came in the form of Jesus Christ, because he held all those different aspects within himself, to save us. To save in a symbolic way, because it's a symbolic medicine. It's not an historical scientist approach of things. It's symbolically. So for him, he really took profoundly, and he really understood that the Christ was within everything. That the historical Christ was the historical Christ, whether it exists or not. But that the Christ is the living essence coming from the Father or the source or whatever you want to give the name, into a form, into a matter, And the Holy Spirit is the link that we develop consciously between the infinite and the finite. And the grace is to realize that and to allow the Father, the source, that we're never gonna give a words to it, because there is no word to give to it, to that principle, beyond everything, which is in everything, which is print in the plant, world of plant, which is print in our bodies, which is embodied. That's what yogi discovered through yogic body exercise. They found back that things. That's what shamanistic people working with plant find in the plants. That's what some mystical find in the books, because there is some books with revelation in it. Even though it has been written by human, but if you skip the human things, there is some information coming from the infinite into those books. Whether the Bhagavad Gita, whether like some old Buddhist text, whether the Bible, whether the Evangel, And if you go through the different layers of information that contain those books, you find the same truths that you all within yourself that you can find with plants, with long yogic and body exercise, or with through dreamings, because some culture worked a lot through the dreams, And so there is not one book better than the others. And that's the problem. It's like our Occidental mind say, okay, it's only the books of the Bible which all the truths. The shamanistic people, maybe from the Amazon or Africa, will say, no, it's in the plants. Some people, yogic, will say, no, everything is in the body. Some people will say, no, we just live in a dream. It's all in the dream. But it's in all of those, and we've got to balance ourselves in all of those. And that's what I found amazing with that man, is that he made me understood that, and didn't lock me just into the form of shamanistic, which is to work with the spirit of plants, which is what I wanted to explain you when we talk on the phone. There is difference of shamanism and the way of grace. And what it told me more in that practice is that, you need to have some techniques, ritual techniques to hold the space. Like we need to have some techniques like to pack our shoots, and their techniques is there. It's and we need techniques, But beyond techniques, there is something else, And the difference approach that we have is that we don't idolize the ayahuasca or we don't idolize the plants. We are in relation with the plants.
Yeah.
The plants teach us as we teach plants.
Yeah.
We are in relation, But it's what's behind, So shamanistic approach work a lot with spirits of different plants and call the spirits, sing for the spirits of the plant, And he, in his approach, it's just understanding that we can sing to what's behind, to what create those things,
Yeah.
But then it's become a question of faith, of home experience, and of humility, maybe somewhere, somehow, And so we just sing to God through the form of a tree that he called the palo volador, which is an archetype of the tree of life. And the tree of life is the archetype of it's the archetype of becoming a human being as close as what represented the Christ when he came on earth, as being able to drink wine with his bodies, and as being able to heal person through the power of and the will of his father, of the sources,
Yeah.
And that was a big understanding between like shamanistic approach and like more like priestic, maybe like a priestic approach.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been learning to those years, And so when people say, I cannot call myself a shaman as a priest neither, I can just humbly say that I'm playing therapies and that I'm learning this way, and that's why I feel comfortable with being just a writer at the end.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a long process too, right? To become a proper shaman, it's how many years? 15 or?
But I have it's once again, it's all depends on the approach. I mean, there is as much shamanism as there is as much like person in a way, and as much there is as much culture, because each culture each tribes, each communities live in a place. Me, that's why I cannot feel myself like studying all the Amazonic plants, because I'm not from the Amazon,
Yeah.
I live here. I live in Valais.
Yeah.
I live in the mountains, so I give thanks to those mountains.
Yeah.
Same as give thanks to the Amazon, which give me the conscious to see that everything is there. Oh, my medicine is there.
Yeah.
Medicine, it's a term, but it's a way to see things and to try to harmonize yourself with the things around, And it's an alchemical process. It's not a power process when I'm going to bring you your disease and with my power, we can work that way. But while you take a disease, let's say I have the power to take a disease from you, okay, take the disease. But where goes the disease? Isn't it the disease going to transform itself? Because diseases are here to show us things.
Yeah.
Challenge, my accident, thanks my friends, they were, when I was on my bed of hospital, they were like, wow, we should have tell you that you were too tired to jump, but I didn't. I've got to give thanks to them that I didn't, because that saved my life. Even though they almost killed my life.
Yeah. But
they put me on the path. That shock just put me on the path. But the path, where is the path going? We don't know. We're on the path.
We're never gonna know, and that's the interesting part of the journey of life, and especially if you're open to go with it and not build all these walls. Our minds are so sensitive to creating these barriers, and humans are very like they're holding on to these barriers as if they're gonna live forever, and I feel like they're kind of. You let that precious gift of this amazing journey just slide away because we don't dare to go beyond where the boundaries allows us, and even though we see that certain things are better for us if we do it like this, we're still gonna hold on to the old like to whatever is programmed in our minds, right? Because we're so afraid of change, we're so afraid of all these,
and it's okay, step by step, poco a poco, poco a poco, step by step, and all those adventure that we live it for the others. And what the other live, they live it for us.
Yes.
So
it's very fascinating.
So it's all good in the now, and it's really it's all good in the now. And I mean, we've been blessed. I mean, you come from Norway, I come from Switzerland. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a luxury.
Us.
That's a materialistic luxury, but that's not a luxury inside, because we face other challenges. That if we will live like in a so-called poor place, everything will be much more simple. I mean, I spoke with my grandmother that lives in the mountain here before the big boom of monies in Switzerland, and she said it was hard, but it was much more simple. So, we live the life we've got to live.
Yeah. You adapt.
You adapt.
You always adapt, and yeah, when you see, for example, poor versus rich, it's very, they have the same problems but on different layers.
Exactly, and it's a big challenge. I mean, let's say you're born with a month of money, you can have like, yes, wow, that's wonderful, but okay, here's the challenge now. And there's a lot of challenge also facing with that,
Yeah, the challenge with that is, find yourself and
find yourself. It is.
And actually find true love and meaning. And,
and no interest and
yeah, it's very. We humans are very adaptive.
We're really adaptive, and that's amazing. Yeah, that's really amazing. Yeah.
Do you sometimes go into your mind and revisit that place when you had your near-death experience and try to bring some understandings around it?
Yeah, I go back sometimes in my mind, in my heart, in that place, because I realize that place exists within, and that in that place I am in a way safe.
Yeah, right.
It's not, safe, and that place just remind me that all challenges that we live are precious and are meant to live, And but what happens with that near-death experience and those initiation in Peru is that, well, I received a lot, and how to what is become normal again, it's
life will never be the same.
Life is not the same.
No.
Life is not the same, and it's my only way to stay, and one of my only pleasure and only meaning that I had left, if not to say, now it's my family, because I have a young daughter, 5 months old, and it's my family. And I don't want to sound too mystical or too, because we have so much idea, but it's my prayers. Once you find the pleasures of praying, it's beyond the pleasure, it becomes something really like nourishing. It just it just nourish the soul. And so there is a lack in the New Age approach of simple prayers, effective prayers. And the easiest prayers is just to breathe.
Yeah.
To receive and to give. And that's when Alex, your friend, told me about the free diving, free diving experience. It's a wonderful prayer to free dive, because it reminds you just to breathe. And it's and everything can be really tricky for me. Like a mind fuck for me, those moments is the wingsuit flying. Such a mind fuck for me, because I'm not like few years ago after my accident where re-jump on my wings and I was like constantly flying. Now I'm flying less and less and less, and I felt that I just want to put my chute on and say bye-bye to it, but I felt it's not the moment
but
yet.
You can't let it go.
It's like the apple is not ready enough to just drop on itself, and that's because
maybe now with the daughter.
Maybe now with the daughter, but I don't want to let it. I went flying after she's born, and because I don't want to say stop wingsuiting because I have a daughter. I should have stopped before,
Yeah.
Because the idea then I flew in the wrong idea, But how to stay constant and not. I mean, it's to find that balance, to find that balance with it, and they're so addictive, And it's like the same with ayahuasca. So many people they say it's medicine, but at the end they need to spend months and months and or every weekend they have to go on ceremony, but then they got locked in that cycle.
Yeah.
And once again, this wingsuit, it's wonderful, but you can get locked in that cycle. Everything. And
it's stuck in it.
And get stuck in those. And there's,
That's why I'm excited to
and
make
then we're not
this
free
vlog.
anymore. And it's easy to say in videos, I'm so free when I fly my wingsuit. I'm so free in that medicine world or blah, blah, blah. But if we're really honest to ourselves, are we really free?
Yeah, you're trapped.
You're trapped.
I see that with some of my. I see that with some of my friends. They're like
to show that it's so important, I guess.
They love to jump, and they're like, okay, they're like, I gotta go, I gotta go do this jump. And it's like, well, you don't have to, Kind of like today is this beautiful sky. My mind is gonna say, guys, we need to go out and shoot this day and do this and do that. I'm like, no. We're gonna go to Switzerland. We're gonna sit down, have a cup of tea, and a good talk with a very interesting human, and that's gonna give you way more than 100 more wingsuit flights is gonna give. So it's all about, and I feel like that is with everything in life. We humans get so stuck. I mean, you have some people, and I don't judge. I just observe and. I don't judge, and sometimes I envy. I envy people that can find very simple happiness. People who have lived in one place their entire life. They've gone to the same grocery store. They bought the same type of food. It's the same stories to the same people, and that's it. It's just this tiny little speck of reality. And then suddenly you have the more traveling, more open-minded reality. It's bigger, but in a bigger universal aspect, it's just a tiny speck again, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of get this that we get stuck in whatever we do, for some people it's so scary to quit their job.
Because we identified.
Yeah.
That identification. It can be the identification of thinking, okay, that I'm Jokke Sommer, I'm the wingsuit pro flyer, doing those media things that I think.
Yeah.
But yes, you are part of that.
And now I'm quitting Red Bull.
But you're not that. And whatever, good or not even good, you could stay with Red Bull. As long as we identified yourself, we know we just doing that role.
For sure, yeah. You have to play your role until you're dead.
Yeah, and we play that role.
Or you change the role.
And doing external things like you're doing, like with your videos and things, it's wonderful as well. But some people which never gonna touch that and just gonna work inside them, it's as wonderful, And it's, like you say, no judging.
Yeah. No judge.
And that's the big trap.
Yeah, because we humans, we are very good to judge as well.
Yeah.
And we're always like, why are these idiots doing that? And if we didn't judge. And if humans were very, more in terms of looking at everything from all kinds of perspectives, this is where I really feel like, for example, psychoactive plants comes in handy, especially the mushroom, where it allows you to suddenly go and okay, now I see it from the point of view of if I'm having an argument with my dad, suddenly I'm in his way of experiencing it, and I can okay, so when I say that, he's gonna feel like this, okay. But for example, now for example this whole movement with Greta and the whole global warming and all of these things, and suddenly when you can for example talk about and Alex and I, we have a lot of interesting conversation with each other, and for example if you look at something so basic as renewable energy, like sustainable energy. As soon as you bring it up, it automatically links to all the chaos and mess that is happening behind. So instead of focusing on of course everyone wants renewable energy. If you can get it overnight, I mean, who doesn't want free energy that lasts forever, that just sustain itself? But because we are so locked into the argument of global warming or this and that and blah, 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 we forget the essence of the importance of what we're trying to promote or trying to make people go towards.
Yeah, we project it outside when the projection need to metanoia, to look within. Yeah. To look within. Metanoia, like the Christ will say, return yourself. Go, but return yourself. Just everything that does projections on climate, just realize that's within the climate.
Yeah. It's
But
all in our minds.
it doesn't mean that once you see inside that you don't have to take measure to act outside, you know.
For sure.
But if, you know, be the changeman that you want to be, like we'll say Gandhi, you know. And it's really start from there. So yeah, Greta, I mean, all that, but it's still a fight, and as long as we fight,
Yeah, and I think it's really good.
we nourish it. In the same, you know, when in those ceremonies I learned the art, because there is an art of fighting against demons and bad energies in that world, and I was like, wow, I was stoked to have like those tools to win war, because there is something like, you know, I'm a warrior, you know. But at the end, okay, you fight, but things come back again and again and again.
Yeah.
And things don't transform, and things get bigger, and just you just into a fight.
Yeah.
And once they waited like 7 years, both of my maestro, Pasquale and Mickey, which is my other maestro, and say, I ask them, because they don't tell you anything. It's just by practice. It's not that I have a courses of learning Icaros or learning Shipibos. There's no courses. There's just the concrete, the pragmatic. Okay, you're with people really dirty because of their life and things, and we need to clean. It's a cleansing first, you know, and things show up. And first I was thinking that I needed to fight against those things showing up, and after a few years they were like, you know,
just observe them.
We never fight.
Yeah.
We just sing to God. We just sing to God, and we let it do, eh?
And just
of course, that's a manner.
Yeah.
And of course, we need to take some measure, like to promote like clean energy and things like this. It's a part of it. We need to all that, because it's like you say, those psychoactive plants show you things. But as long as it's not embodied,
then
it's an idea,
becomes
like a dogma, an idea, like with religion, you know. Same with Christianism, it's ideas, like it's like but it's not embodied. No. And once you live the experience within, you can just be like, okay, amen. Like for real. I mean, for real, you just like, amen. I mean, that's what happens to me. I mean, I was there at one point when I saw that glory, I was just like, amen. And it came just like naturally, you know, without like idolatry. It's just like, okay. Yeah. But in the body. Easy to say. So we stay vigilant, eh? And that's why, to come back at the beginning of our talk, that's where freediving, wingsuits, those sports are really initiating sport, because we are vigilant in those sports. Because if we're not, we pay the price straight away. Yeah.
And they're good tools to always chase the happiness and always chase
the beauty.
The beauty of life,
the beauty. To look
that's
at
where
beauty.
I think we're
and that's what lucky. I like with you. I mean, through what you showed. I mean, even though your character, like through Red Bull and things. I mean, I know the business.
For sure.
That business, I was a little bit in it, you know. But behind that, what I really enjoy through what you gave through the world, through your actions and movies, it was that sense of beauty. I always have a sense of beauty, and I think the beauty is the truth. Aim to the beauty. I mean, bad exists. Of course, we're not gonna deny it. When bad show up, bad show up. It's part of it. When disease show up, disease show up. But what do we aim? We aim through beauty, because beauty will save the world, like say Dostoevsky. I'm so sure of that, you know. So things have to be done in beauty, and that's what I realized in that medicine with that maestro when he first started to sing. He sang with so much beauty and noble. You know, it was just, and that beauty were just like fading away things, you know, and we need its beauty. Beauty within, beauty without. Looking at beauty by looking outside, the beauty that is outside, we see the beauty within ourselves, you know, and we just aim to that beauty of a wonderful start. And they're fucking scary.
It's always nice to have a good start.
Beauty.
I mean, you do live in a very beautiful place, huh?
Yeah, grace that I received from the ancestors.
This is pretty next level.
I don't know, but it's a beautiful place. Yeah, it's calm, and it's nice to body work here and to and to maybe one day learn how to paraglide.
You should definitely do that.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe you should come with us to.
It's like I said, you know, it's like living
to Chile. combine it with once you're done in the Amazon, you take your
So sounds like, but you know, I've got my little woman here,
yeah,
a little
that's true.
daughters,
Yeah,
and there'll be a time.
yeah.
There'll
You
be a
would have
time to go back on the road. I mean, I'm going back to Peru really because I'm focusing on, not focusing, but my maestro is old and I
Yeah.
want to spend some time with him. My other maestro is going to quit as well. I have two maestro. The other one is Canadian and he's a wonderful man. He's been like going through so many things in his story, you know, and
I can
he's
imagine.
going to quit also. He's teaching and he's up. So it's like some of the last years where I can hang out with those guys.
How long are you gonna stay there?
Just a month.
Yeah.
And then, you know, because my daughter's young and it's beauty to see that and just to witness that.
For sure, and be a part.
And then winter again. I mean,
Yeah.
I love snowboarding. I mean, I stopped after my accident to ride and now I have so much pleasure to ride again.
Yeah. And soon you're gonna bring her, and
who knows?
it's gonna be amazing.
I hope. Do you snowboard?
Yeah, I mean, I snowboarded since I was 12,
Okay.
and back in the days, I was doing more slopestyle competition for fun of it.
Okay, you did.
Again, the same thing. You know, we were a big crew of friends, and
Which year are you born? 80?
86.
86. Oh, you're younger.
Mm.
Okay.
So yeah, it was good times, and we did a lot of snowboarding, and we were riding like 5 days a week.
To Hemsedal?
Yeah, we were sometimes in Hemsedal, but we had this, you know, our small little place, where actually it was so crazy because there was a lot of professionals that came from that little place and that hill.
Who?
Daniel Ek.
Yeah.
He was a forum rider, and then it was now I don't remember his name, but it was a couple of other guys, and just the whole, like, the hill was half of that.
That's a small hill, eh?
Yeah, and it was half of that.
Yeah, okay. yeah.
But it was really it was really it was a good part of my life because it got me into extreme sport. I was doing a lot of motocross and snowboarding, and that later led me into wingsuit flying and skydiving. So I love snowboarding, but now I'm more a skier because of the speed riding.
Of course, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I haven't been doing much snowboarding the last couple of years.
Oh, speed ride, that must be fun too. So many after there's a thing, you know. You know, sometimes I'm here, I'm like, well, what should I do today? Wingsuit, climb, get my bike, do things.
Eventually you have too much.
It's too much.
That's why I look forward to
too
be
much
on a sailboat.
And it's the same with those medicine plant. People go there, they diet, that tree. We charge too much. Too much info, too much.
You just eventually become a plant.
Too much. I mean, too much.
I mean, it's fun, I'm not gonna lie. Even though it's a little scary sometimes. I find it a little bit like, ooh.
Yeah.
I have very big respect for it, you know. After I saw that, I was like, wow.
Yeah, when I understood out of that is like what passionate me is like when I was seeing, it was to realize that my maestro, like Pascual that I talk about, was healing more person during the day without ayahuasca than during his ceremony. And I was like, okay. And it was like blowing into a bottle, like Agua Florida bottle. And people were coming, lots of people were coming for different things, disease, like problems. And he would be just sitting and blowing in his bottle. And for the first years, I was like, what are you blowing in your bottle? I mean, what are you doing? How can you heal a person by blowing in a bottle? And what do you heal? And he said, yeah, todo. Todo, like all. If God's will, I can heal a lot of things, all, you know? I was like, well. So, and I was like, well, that's cool. I mean, that's opened something for me, like as something that I could bring back in my country without the use of ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And so that's why I kept on, in a way, life brought me to, kept on going back there to learn that skills, to be able to help another with, of course, the massage that I've learned in here, but the blowing work, which actually acts on all those layers that you explore during the ceremony. The ceremony will show you and make you feel with much more intensity what do we live during our journey every day, you know. And fortunately, we are not mareado. We don't have the effect of the plant in our journey every day because we will not be able to live, you know. Yeah. That'll be just too much. We wouldn't be able to
Can you
stay, you know. But
Yeah, suddenly Alex will be on another
so
side
it's
of
a
the
school,
planet.
and it's a medicinal school in the approach that I've learned to be able to replicate and to give information. So what we do, I mean, what he does, and what I'm learning to do is to bring the information of different plants onto our blowing for those plants to come on an energetical level and to penetrate and to do what they need to do in that body to get more freedom and more sanity in a way, you know, and in the heart, because I mean we have a body. Somebody cannot be healed even with shamanistic technique, chirurgeon technique.
Yeah.
Body is the body. Eh? We have a mind, but we have a heart, and at the end, what remains is what we give. You know, all the wingsuit, all the money, all those things, they're gonna fade away. Everything's gonna fade away. Everything is gonna everything.
Thanks a lot for that.
Unfortunately, my daughter, everything.
Yeah, for sure.
We all nothing. We
sure.
receive everything. The only things that which not gonna be fed away is that what we give. You know, and we can only give by receiving, and that's salute. That's healing. That's once we slowly approach this. You know, the rest is wins. Huh? Well, yeah.
Oh, super interesting. I love this conversation.
Me too. I appreciate being with you and being able to,
I hope I get to share a ceremony with you one day.